Welcome to the Pint Glass Football Podcast.
Pint Glass Football. I'm your host, Brad Fowler. What's up, PGF Nation? Bleacher Report recently put out an article of the most overlooked editions of the 2024 NFL Offseason. We'll discuss that list, tell you where they got it right, tell you where they got it wrong, and give you some names that we think should have made this list. But joining me, like always, my co-host, Alex Higdon. Alex, what is going on?
I have awakened. I am up, and I've got my fake cup of coffee. Me and Brad were having a conversation off air about how I think coffee, the whole concept of coffee is fake in terms of waking somebody up. And I'm late getting to the podcast. We'll let you know what's going on in pre-production, but I am up, I'm awake, and I'm ready to go.
Absolutely, man. This is going to be fun, Alex. This is a good list. This is a good article that came out recently that you found, because I think this is an interesting list of names that they came up with. We've kind of got a wide range of opinions on these names because, like I said, some of these names make sense and I like these picks. Some of them I really don't, and I know you feel the same. So let's dive into this list. I want to start with the first player they have mentioned here. Austin Booker, the new rookie edge defender for the Chicago Bears. Now, if you guys remember who listen to the show regularly, listen to our draft coverage, this is a guy that I loved coming out of Kansas, a guy that went in the 5th round that I thought really got overlooked. I thought he was going to be a 3rd round pick, maybe 4th at the latest. I was really surprised when he was still available in the 5th. I thought this was a great late draft pick from Ryan Poles and a really good value pick. So I'm excited that he made this list, Alex.
About 6'5", 6'6", 240 pounds, a guy with some, as they like to say, bend around the edge when you're rushing the quarterback, that he can really burst into and drive into tackles and push them either back from his position or get around them with his speed. I do like him a lot. He needs to get a little bit stronger at the point of attack, but I think he's going to be a solid contributor. I don't know if he's going to be a Pro Bowl, well, actually an All-Pro or anything like that, but definitely think a guy that's going to be a key contributor on that type of defense with Montez Sweat and company.
Alex, let's get to some names that maybe we didn't like on this list. Who's a player that jumped out that you thought, okay, I wouldn't have had him on this list?
Well, we can go to the second guy on the list, Paris Campbell. I'm stuttering because I still can't believe he's on this list. I, as a person, and those of us as Madden players, love a guy like Paris Campbell. But I emphasize Madden players. We have been, using his speed on the game. However, it does not show up in real life, and he has not shown up in real life. And I think people are still waiting for him to show up after being a 2nd round pick. He had great size, great speed, from this long line of Ohio States where you don't need to go through the list. If you know, you know. There's always going to be a guy that doesn't pop. Jameson Williams is, for me, from the entire Alabama run. And the same thing here in Ohio State. Paris Campbell is a guy I did not like coming out. I just felt he was a speed guy, but it was never going to translate to the NFL. And since he's been in the NFL, he has 117 catches, 1,087 yards, and 5 touchdowns, mainly due to the fact that he's not available. He's only played double-digit games, not started. He's only played in double-digit games twice, and that's the last 2 years. I was not excited about this choice at all.
Yeah, the title of this article is Overlooked Additions. Well, this one was overlooked for a reason. I mean, this guy is not something that you're going to get really excited about. In 2022, he had 17 games with the Colts. Pedestrian numbers, 63 catches, 623 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's a nice season. But then last year, being an irrelevant wide receiver for the Giants, maybe you get something out of him, but I'm not banking on it.
And Brad, can we just emphasize that was on the Giants, who had no receivers, none.
It's a great point.
Man, it's just 20 catches, 104 yards in 12 games. Brad, instead of Paris Campbell, how about Malachi Corley? A guy that we both were very high on coming out. We know a few years ago, the Jets thought they had something similar to what Malachi Corley. We believe Malachi Corley is going to be an Elijah Moore. I guess they kind of fell out of love with each other, so to speak, and they had to part ways. But Malachi Corley, what I think this guy is going to do for this offense with a guy like Aaron Rodgers in that running game, in that slot, who turns, like we always talk about with Debo Samuel, into a running back when he gets the ball. Go back through our draft pods. We talked about this kid as, I guess you could say, a sleeper, even though I didn't think he should be a sleeper, because I think what we think about him, he's going to display on the field this season.
Yeah, we both really liked this kid coming out of the draft, and he got a little bit overlooked, so to speak, in a really, really deep wide receiver class. So I think that's a great pick. And I think for a rookie, I definitely would have had him on this list ahead of Audric Estime, the running back for the Denver Broncos, the rookie out of Notre Dame. Look, 5th round pick, a guy that really saw his draft stock take a major hit, didn't test very well at the combine, and I think that really hurt what people thought he could be. Look, I don't think he's a terrible player by any means, but we talked about it during the draft podcast episodes. I just think because of the athletic profile of this guy and the fact that he had so many carries at Notre Dame, I wonder about durability. I wonder about longevity, but I also wonder about his role. He doesn't have a lot of wiggle. He doesn't have home run speed, that's for sure. So what is he in the NFL? Is he just a short yardage guy, a goal line guy? I think he's a situational back at best. So I'm not really sure why he made this list either, Alex.
I don't know what Sean Payton was thinking here. I mean, you had Javonte Williams, a guy you didn't use last year because you wanted to go small and quick and shifty with Jaleel McLaughlin, and us fantasy owners were mad at you. And since you mentioned, short yardage, then what was the point in signing Samaje Perine? Because that's exactly his role and the reason he was signed, or I'm going to assume that Sean Payton had a hand in having him signed last year. And then what is his role? So where does Audric fit in this situation? I don't know. Weird pick. He probably could, really be good, maybe perhaps on another team, but I'm not sure what the fit is here on Denver at all. Brad, I have another guy. I like DJ Reader going from Cincinnati to Detroit. Big guy in the middle. We know what the edge have looked like for I guess you could say over the past 2 seasons. Brought over Marcus Davenport. Now you bring over a really true interior lineman, but this is a guy that knows his job, does his job very well in the middle of that in the middle of that line. And what he's going to do when you line him up, whether it be next to Marcus Davenport or Aiden Hutchinson, he's going to command that you can now not double team the man that's next to him. This would be Aiden Hutchinson in this situation. You're not going to be able to double team him because DJ Reader knows how to beat his man and get to the quarterback. Guard him man up, and then you would have to guard Aiden man up, and that will allow Aiden to do what he does best, which is get after the quarterback. I look for a high double-digit sack season for Aiden Hutchinson. And on the low, betting alert, I would probably put a little bit of money down because Max Crosby is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Remember, you heard it here first a few pods ago. But I wouldn't mind putting down maybe $25 to $50 on Aiden Hutchinson to win Defensive Player of the Year as well.
Yeah, DJ Reader is a really overlooked addition this offseason, and I like him to be on this list as well, Alex, because this is the guy that got him for a pretty reasonable price tag. He was an anchor for Lou Anarumo's defense there in Cincinnati, can push the pocket, but he's going to eat up a lot of blockers, and he's going to free up some of these other defenders. So this is a nice pickup for Detroit, who's been trying to build the defense this last couple seasons now. The next guy on this list, Alex, I actually like this pickup quite a bit. D'Onta Foreman, running back for the Cleveland Browns. This was a really under-the-radar move, a guy that just really hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities, but when he does, he seems to make the most of them. A tough, physical runner, really fits the profile for what they want to do in Cleveland. We know Nick Chubb had that really gruesome injury last season. We're not really sure what kind of player he's going to be when he gets back. This is a nice insurance policy getting a guy like D'Onta Foreman.
Hold my beer for a minute, Brad. Let's talk about D'Onta Foreman for a moment. This kid out of the University of Texas. I thought at 6 feet, 235 pounds, I thought was a hammer. I thought he was going to be able to come into the league, especially on a team like Houston, and do a lot of damage. His first 2 years in Houston, he literally ran 85 times for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. I thought he was on his way out of the NFL and that he was going to be a huge bust because he was drafted in the 3rd round, and most GMs will tell you when they're drafting the 3rd round, they're looking at a guy that should be ready to start in a year or two in the 3rd round because there just need to be some refining, and then they can move on from whoever they had probably in front of them to give them the full-time job. 2019, out of football. Comes back in 2020 with Tennessee. We know what Derrick Henry is, so he didn't get a lot of time there. But in 2021, Derrick Henry goes down, and Tennessee starts to go on a run with Dante Foreman as the lead running back. I don't want to say they don't lose a beat, but he kind of provides a little bit of what Derrick Henry was providing, that running style, that smash mouth football. They went on a run to the point that there was controversy the year Tennessee decided to start Derrick Henry and sit Dante Foreman. And you can go back and check for yourself. And then he goes to Carolina, has 914 yards and then 5 TDs. And then last year goes to Chicago, and he didn't get a lot of the carries that he thought he was going to get when he got there. But to your point, Brett, I love a guy like this. Getting the opportunity. Dante Foreman is still only 28 years old. Jerome Ford, very young himself. I think this 1-2 punch of these guys are going to provide a lot of stability at that running back position.
I don't know why this is considered such a great overlooked addition here. Willie Gay Jr. signs with the New Orleans Saints on a 1-year, $3 million deal. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. And I think he adds something to that defense. But this is a team that's got one hand on the detonate button. So I'm not really sure what kind of value. And obviously it's a 1-year deal for a reason because we know they're about to change things up in New Orleans. I don't know why this guy's on this list. I really don't, Alex. And look, he's a good run defender. He's a major liability in coverage. I think the NFL has kind of moved away from his skill set.
This is interesting from the Saints to sign a guy who actually does have some talent and does have a specific skill set. Why you would sign this guy, I'm not sure. You should be 1,000% tanking because like Brad said, and again, I encourage people to, because we like to pat ourselves on the back. Listen, we all have an ego. I'm an American. So we like to have egos around here. I called Stephon Diggs getting traded, so I am taking victory laps all season for that. And as Brad has made several predictions that have come true, he's going to take victory laps. So they don't only have their finger on the detonate button, they're about to stomp on the detonate button next year. I don't know why you're even trying to actually try to achieve anything this year. And that sounds funny saying that, but at some point in time, you do have to hit we're calling it the detonation button, but the Saints have long been pushing this barrel down the line for at least probably since Drew Brees' second to last year. They've been pushing this on and on and on and on, thinking they have a chance. But the team that is now already over 88 million over the cap for next year, going in and just stop. It's okay. Teams have done it. They've hit the soft reset. They've hit the hard reset. You're looking at what Houston did. You're seeing what Detroit did. There are several different ways to go about rebuilding this team, and it's okay. You're not the Cowboys. Nobody's going to care if you blow this whole thing up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Alex, I'll give you a defender that should have made this list instead of a guy like Willie Gay. How about Denico Autry, the edge who signed with the Houston Texans? Look, this is one of the most consistent players in the NFL. He's had at least 10 quarterback hits in each of the past 7 seasons. He's played his best football the last 3 years. And look, Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter are going to get most of the attention up front. I think Autry could have a career year in Houston.
This is a guy that came out of Mississippi State, undrafted, drafted by the Raiders, and had to work. This is what hard work, and I always say there are people that are more talented than there are people that are actually getting the playing time, but they're simply getting outworked. And Denico Autry has simply, if you just look at his career, he has simply just gotten better every single year from the time he got playing time when he was 25 in 2015 to where he landed at 2023 as a 33-year-old 8 years later, and still getting playing time and still getting better. It doesn't matter if he was in Oakland, Indianapolis, or Tennessee. He's just simply shown up every spot that he's going to with the same energy, the same smile, the same work ethic. So kids, let that be a lesson to you. It doesn't matter if the person next to you is more talented. You can always outwork that person and either get some playing time or perhaps even take over and get the starting job.
Did you know that Pint Glass Football is more than just this podcast? We have an exclusive newsletter. Sign up for free at pintglassfootball.com to receive articles and insights delivered straight to your inbox. But wait, there's more. We're excited to announce our brand new YouTube channel. Not only can you listen to our podcast on YouTube, but you'll also find exclusive video content waiting for you. So hit the pause button right now and go subscribe to our newsletter, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube to stay connected with the latest football news and our exclusive content. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. We personally love the pick'em game. Just pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Download the Underdog Fantasy app and sign up today with promo code PGF. That's promo code PGF to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. The official ticketing app of Pint Glass Football is now SeatGeek. I can't recommend them enough, guys. I've been using SeatGeek for years. You want to go to a game this season? SeatGeek is here to take the confusion out of buying tickets, making sure you get the best seats at the best prices. With SeatGeek, you'll never have to worry about overpaying for tickets again. How? They put a 0 to 10 score on each ticket, so you know you're getting a good deal. But here's the real game changer. You can get $20 off your first ticket purchase with the code PGFPOD. That's right, $20 off with code PGFPOD. This season, make every game day epic with SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app and remember to enter the code PGFPOD to grab your $20 discount. Yeah, moving down this list, Alex, the next guy, I like this pick for Bleacher Report here, and that's Zach Moss, the running back who signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's coming off of a career year with the Colts. Now he's going to get some opportunities in Cincinnati, and I think this could be a big season for him.
Yeah, Brad, I'm 1,000% with you. This is a guy that I was very high on coming out of Utah, especially when he went to Buffalo. Anybody who knows me knows my narrative on Buffalo. I don't know how you are in the city of Buffalo with that type of weather and you don't have a smash mouth style running back. And I thought when they drafted him, I said, finally, they addressed the running back position, because though he's only 5'9", 205, he kind of runs more like he's 5'11", 6 feet, 220 pounds. He runs with authority, and he will hit the opponent with the same type of power as well. But like you said, in Buffalo, for whatever reason, they refused to use him. They ended up trading him to Indianapolis. But I think with Cincinnati and with what they have at the quarterback position and the type of weapons that they have at the receiver and tight end, I think he's going to see a lot more wide open lanes. And I look for him to have, I'll say, a soft 1,000, meaning it's like he'll maybe have 1,000 to 1,100 yards and maybe 7 touchdowns, but that would be great for him in that style of offense. I look for him to get better in that offense and behind that line, which is actually a very good line. So I look for him to get better and have a better season than he did last season.
What about a fantasy alert, Alex? What do you think?
Yeah, I actually think that is a high fantasy alert. Late round pick. I can't really say what round because I haven't really done all of my homework there, but this is a guy that you'll be able to probably get, I would say, around the 4th or 5th round, maybe even 6th round. But he could get overlooked for the most part because people don't know too much about him and they're not really high on him to really try and take a flyer on him.
Now, the next guy on this list is a rookie that I know you're really high on, Alex. I like his game too, and we talked about him being a potential really good value pick for the Saints. Spencer Rattler, the quarterback out of South Carolina, who they took in the 5th round, really high upside guy. And a guy, if you guys remember, he was a big time high school recruit, 5-star, high-profile guys to go to Oklahoma. He ended up losing his job to Caleb Williams, transferred to South Carolina, kind of had an up and down college career, and then ends up being a 5th rounder. Never really became the guy that we thought he would coming out of high school, but the skill set is there, the talent is there, and I don't think we've seen his best football.
This is one of the guys that I think is going to be able to do well because I don't believe in JJ. So let that be a hot take and Twitter go crazy. I don't believe in JJ at all. I think Spencer Rattler is going to have a better career than him. But a lot with Spencer Rattler really lies on who is the next head coach there in New Orleans that can do some things. Because I think we're going to see Spencer Rattler earlier probably than they want to put him in. But I think they're going to tank the season. They're going to realize that around week 10 or 11, and Spencer Rattler is going to get a look. And I think he's going to maybe flash a few things. So depending on what new coach comes in there, they have a guy that they can develop. And I think this is a guy that's going to be one of the better quarterbacks. He's definitely going to be a guy that's going to pop. And when they look back on this draft, they're going to say so-and-so it's going to be J.J. McCarthy. Sorry, guys. J.J. McCarthy was a bust, and Spencer Rattler should have been a higher pick if they ever do a redraft.
Now, the next guy on this list might be the best pick as far as being an overlooked addition, in my opinion, is Geno Stone, the safety who Cincinnati signed. Really good player. He played at a Pro Bowl level last year. He's only 25 years old, so I think there's still a lot of good football ahead of him. This was a really nice pickup.
Yeah, I love this pickup a lot. We talk about 2 to 3 years ago when they really had a really good defensive backfield back there with Jesse Bates and company, and they had to let everybody go. But they did need to start to pay attention to the defense again. And Geno Stone, I think, is a great fit. Obviously, anybody out that Baltimore organization, for the most part, let's remember, he was a backup. He had to come in because I believe it was Marcus Williams that got hurt. And he had 7 interceptions last year. But I think he comes in next to Dax Hill and be a formidable tandem. You know what, Brad? If we ever do a top 5 safety tandem, I think they may be in the top 3.
Now, the next guy on this list, Alex, I liked his game coming out of the draft. He never really put it together. Now, granted, I didn't love him coming out of the draft. I pointed out some of his flaws, and I think he was a guy that needed to develop. But Rock Ya-Sin, cornerback who signed with the San Francisco 49ers this offseason, I think this is a good move from a standpoint of it's a 1-year deal for only $1.3 million. So very low risk. It adds a veteran guy with some talent to the secondary. But I think there were some better players that should have made this list over him.
I think he's more depth here than anything else. And this is a team that actually needs cornerback, that's looking for a second cornerback to start over there on the other side of Tre'Davious Ward. But in the same vein, a defensive pickup. How about we look at coaches? Vic Fangio. You guys have heard me talk about Vic Fangio probably in the last 25 years, one of the, I would say, top 5 defensive minds in this league. What Vic Fangio's been able to do wherever he goes, he now goes to Philly after coming off of a down year in Miami, but Miami had some injuries in there, a little bit quirky on defense for my liking. But now he goes there with all those draft picks, with the Jordan Davis, with a Jalen Carter, with a Bryce Huff. He goes in there. Now I'm not sure if they're going to run a 3-4 or 4-3, but I think the way that their defense, their front 7 is set up, there can be chameleons in terms of how they want to run any type of hybrid of either scheme. And then what they did in the defensive backfield, we don't need to go through it again. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, so on and so forth, fortified that on the back end. That's something, and Brad, you can speak to it more, that he specializes in. I look for that Philly defense. If the offense implodes, that defense will keep them in every single game.
Yeah, Vic Fangio, I think, is a bit of an overlooked addition. Now, this article just focused on players as far as free agents and rookies. But I think it's a great point, Alex, because this guy really is kind of getting overlooked, and he's been one of the best defensive coaches in the league. Even though he's kind of bounced around here recently, which is a little bit surprising, I think this is a good pickup. by the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, like you mentioned, he's kind of been known for a 3-4 front, runs a lot of zone coverages on the back end with a lot of versatile looks, a lot of quarters coverage, and he likes to sprinkle in the man coverage as well, likes to rotate guys and really try to confuse quarterbacks. It's going to be a really fascinating fit in Philly to kind of see how he pieces this together with this group. But I think it's a big upgrade from what they've had, and it'll be really interesting to see what he does with this defense. Now, the last guy on this list, Alex, is Malik Washington, the wide receiver, the rookie for the Miami Dolphins. Look, I'm not saying that he's a bad choice here, but he's not a guy that either one of us was really that excited about. And once again, I think there were some guys that probably should have made this list over a guy like Malik Washington. How about Leonard Floyd, Alex, the edge defender that was picked up from the San Francisco 49ers, veteran player who still is playing at a pretty high level. This guy had 10.5 sacks last year with the Buffalo Bills. He's had 39.5 sacks over the past 4 seasons, only 31, still has some gas left in the tank, clearly playing at a high level. I think the 49ers actually got him for a pretty reasonable price tag as well. He's going to be a guy that I think is really going to contribute to the front seven for the 49ers.
Losing Chase Young in that rotation, going and getting Leonard Floyd, again, like you said, and, also Dre Jackson, a guy that they were looking to step up, and I guess they're not as happy with him. So to make this move, to make the trade they did last year for Chase Young, and then to make the move again in free agency and go after Leonard Floyd, let you know that they kind of really are not as happy with Dre Jackson. That should be a message to him that he needs to start putting in the work. He's now in a position where he's going to set himself up, and I don't believe he has a long contract. He's a bit more of a mercenary, similar to Jadeveon Clowney at this point. So I think he's going to see a lot of 1 to 2 year deals where they can get out of it after 1 year for the most part. But hey, if you can carve yourself out a nice niche like that, you'll always keep a job, and your specialty can be rushing the quarterback. And Brad, for me, I have 2 other people. I'll start with Cordero Patterson. People don't think about him that we know he's a quote unquote gadget guy for the most part, or part of that debacle of 3 first-round picks from Minnesota during that year. But Cordero Patterson, he is an incredible kick returner. Cordero Patterson, he's actually number 1 all time in kickoff return touchdowns. He's number 1 all time. That means throughout the entire history already in his career. And we know that he can also play a bit of wide receiver. He can also play running back as well. So this is a guy they'll be able to move all around the field. I mean, and if you want to get creative, can you imagine what he and somebody like Justin Fields will look like in the backfield, and what type of chaos they could cause defensively, and nobody know what's going to go on. And then the other one, get ready, Cleveland. I have a bullseye on Deshaun Watson's name, and here we go again. Jameis Winston. We can laugh at him. We can laugh at him eating the W. We can laugh at what he did in Florida State with the crab legs, or jumping on top of the table saying everybody's famous words. That was for for a year or whatever. But this guy has, I think, to me, has really been able to turn things around. But now I like Kevin Stefanski. If you want to know how much I like him, you should go just pod back and listen to our coach rankings and where I had him for the most part. But I like Kevin Stefanski. I think he's going to be able to put him in a good position. And we will see Jameis Winston this year. Trust and believe. Whether it be because of injury or poor play, Jameis Winston will see the field this year, because that defense, like we talked about before, that defense, that offense, they're ready to run. This is all on Deshaun Watson's shoulders, and we're going to find out what type of player he is this year. And unfortunately, I'm not a believer. So shout out to Cordero Patterson and shout out to Jameis Winston.
Yeah, 2 overlooked additions that probably could have made this list, certainly, Alex. Cordero Patterson, I just love this guy's game, because I love players that can do a lot of different things on the football field, because it adds so much value to a team when you can play multiple positions and you can do a lot of different things on the field. I love those versatile guys, a running back, a wide receiver, a kick returner. That's just a great addition all around, and a guy that nobody's really talking about this offseason. And Jameis Winston, I think that's a really good overlooked addition as well, because to your point, at the very least, he's a high-end backup. And so a guy that could come in either way, if Deshaun Watson, if his game continues to go off the rails, you have an insurance policy with him, or if he gets injured and misses some time, you have a guy that can keep the boat afloat. So I like both of those, Alex, as well. If you enjoy the podcast, do us a favor and subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Once again, I'm Brad Fowler. He's Alex Higdon. This is Pint Glass Football, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Pint Glass Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at PGF Podcast.
Zencastr is the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. It provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content all from one dashboard. Zencastr's post-production process takes the headache out of audio production. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. Coordinating all your guests to record in person is painful and tedious. Easily invite up to 11 participants per recording with one click. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code PGFP, and you'll get 30% off your first 3 months of Zencastr Professional. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.